Right now, you are inside your body. At least that is what you believe. Your eyes are reading these words. Your skull is holding your brain. Your brain is producing the experience of being you. That is the story. But what if the story is wrong? What if your consciousness is not something your brain makes, but something your brain receives? That single question has haunted scientists, philosophers, and mystics for centuries. And today, the most rigorous experiments in modern neuroscience, quantum physics, and near-death research are starting to give it a serious answer. Not the answer you expect. Think about where you feel like you are right now. Not your body, you. The thing that is reading this. The observer. Most people, when they close their eyes and ask where they exist, point somewhere behind their forehead, slightly above the eyes. Not at the back of the skull, not in the chest, just behind the face in a kind of invisible cockpit. But here is what no one tells you. That location is an illusion. Your brain constructs it, and it can be moved. In 1978, neurologist Olaf Blanke accidentally discovered something that would change the debate forever. He was stimulating the brain of an epilepsy patient using electrodes, a standard pre-surgical procedure, when he activated a region called the temporoparietal junction. The patient immediately reported floating out of her own body. She could see herself lying on the table below. She was calm. She was not dreaming. The sensation stopped the moment the electrode was removed. Blanca had found the switch, the part of your brain responsible for placing you inside your own body. And when it misfires, you leave. That is not a metaphor. That is a reproducible laboratory result. But here is where it gets stranger, because the temporoparietal junction does not generate consciousness, it generates location. It is a GPS system for the self, a positioning device, which means the fact that it can be scrambled does not tell you that consciousness is an illusion. It tells you that consciousness can be displaced. There is a critical difference. You need to understand a concept called the binding problem. It has no clean solution. Right now, your brain is processing color, motion, sound, smell, memory, and language in completely separate regions. Different neurons, different lobes, different electrical rhythms, but your experience is not fragmented. You are not hearing the word and seeing the word as two different events. It arrives to you as one unified moment. How? No one knows. After a century of neuroscience, no one has found the place where your experience becomes one. They keep looking and finding more separation. The philosopher David Chalmers called this the hard problem of consciousness. He drew a line between the easy problems, explaining how the brain processes information, reacts to stimuli, controls behavior, and the hard problem, which is explaining why any of that processing feels like anything at all. The easy problems are not actually easy, but they are, in principle, solvable. The hard problem may not be, because no amount of explaining neurons explains the fact that you experience being you. Francis Crick, who co-discovered the structure of DNA, spent the last years of his life obsessed with this problem. He believed consciousness would eventually reduce to neuroscience. He died in 2004 still searching. His collaborator Christoph Koch has since admitted that the neural correlates of consciousness, the brain activity that happens when you are conscious, do not explain consciousness. They correlate with it. That is not the same thing. So what if the brain is not the source? The physicist Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, said something almost no one quotes. He said that he regarded consciousness as fundamental and matter as derived from consciousness. Not the other way around. He was not being mystical. He was following the physics, because at the quantum level, matter does not behave like matter until it is observed. The electron does not have a position until someone measures it. That is not a philosophical position. That is a result of the double-slit experiment, one of the most replicated experiments in the history of science. The observer affects the observed. At the most fundamental level of reality, you cannot remove the watcher from the watched. Now, bring that up to the scale of your life. Every night you lose consciousness. Not partially, completely. You stop being aware. And then, some hours later, without any effort, you return. The same you. The same sense of being located in the same body. You did not earn it back. You did not reconstruct it piece by piece. It just resumed, as if someone pressed play. Where were you during that time? The honest answer from neuroscience is, we do not know. The brain was active, but you were not there. Something about the specific pattern of waking brain activity allows consciousness to be present, but presence itself is not explained. The near-death experience literature adds a layer that is genuinely difficult to dismiss. In 2001, cardiologist Pim van Lommel published a landmark study in the Lancet, one of the most respected medical journals on earth. He followed 344 cardiac arrest patients who had been clinically dead. No heartbeat, no brain activity, flat EEG. The brain had stopped. And yet, 18% of those patients reported vivid, structured, coherent experiences during that time. They reported leaving their bodies, observing the room from above, seeing specific details, the position of equipment, conversations between nurses that were later confirmed by medical staff. One patient described a denture nurse had removed from his mouth and placed in a specific drawer during the resuscitation. He described her face. He had been clinically dead when this happened. Van Lommel was not a mystic. He was a skeptic who expected to explain these experiences away. He could not. His conclusion, published in the most rigorous scientific language possible, was that consciousness can exist independent of brain function. That is a peer-reviewed paper. In the Lancet, published in 2001. Now, here is where it folds back onto your daily life, because you do not need a near-death experience to test this. Every time you have a feeling of presence, someone watching you from behind, a sudden sense that a person you love is in trouble, a dream that turns out to be right, your brain is detecting something without a known sensory signal. Science calls this anomalous cognition. Researcher Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences has run hundreds of controlled double-blind studies on what most people call intuition. His meta-analyses, covering thousands of trials, show effect sizes that are small but statistically significant and consistent. Too consistent to be noise. Something is happening, something that does not fit neatly inside the skull. Most mainstream scientists refuse to engage with this data, not because the methodology is poor, Radin's protocols are rigorous, but because the conclusion is too uncomfortable. Because if consciousness can operate outside the brain, then the entire framework of what a human being is has to be rebuilt from the ground up. And here's the thing. That rebuilding has already begun. Integrated information theory, developed by neuroscientist Giulio Tononi, argues that consciousness is not a byproduct of the brain. It is a property of information systems. Any system with sufficient complexity and integration has some form of experience. Not human experience, but experience. This means consciousness is not special to biology. It is a feature of the universe itself, expressed differently at different scales. Your brain does not produce consciousness the way a factory produces a car. Your brain is one particularly dense expression of something that was already there. Panpsychism, the idea that some form of mind or awareness is a fundamental feature of reality, was once laughed out of philosophy departments. Today, it is taken seriously by a growing number of physicists and neuroscientists, including Philip Goff at Durham University, who has written extensively on why panpsychism may be the only theory that does not simply push the hard problem into a dark corner and ignore it. So, what does this mean for you? It means the experience you're having right now, the sense of being behind your eyes, the feeling of being a continuous self with a past and a future, is something the universe is doing. Not just your brain. The brain is the receiver, the tuner, the thing that shapes and focuses the signal into the particular human frequency you experience as yourself. But the signal was not created by the tuner. Think about how you are reading this. You did not consciously assemble your understanding of these sentences. The meaning arrived, you received it. Comprehension is not something you do. It is something that happens, and you observe it happening. You have been observing your whole life, not generating, observing. Right now, you believe you are inside your body. Your skull is holding your brain. Your brain is producing the experience of being you. That is still the story you live by. But now you know there is another possibility, older than science, confirmed by its own edge cases, and stranger than anything you were taught in school. You were never produced by your body. You arrived in it.
I come in peace. Come in peace. Come in peace. Come in peace.
Hear ye, hear ye! Know ye by these present that I do hereby declare peace upon the entire world!